Somebody says, my family encourages my 24-year-old son to drink. My family says Jesus drank wine. Let's see, what should I say to try and steer my son away from getting started drinking? People say that because they want to drink, right? Now, let me say this, because I've seen this situation before when people do this. It's not really something you say. It's not really something you say. It is this. When you explain what drinking does, then they'll begin to understand why it's not looked highly upon. First of all, when you come out of character because of drunkenness, right? When you're not yourself because of drunkenness, you're outside of your character. You start to, you don't tame your tongue. You don't hold things back. You're not humble. You're not anything. You just start letting things fly, and you're outside of your character. That means you're operating by pure flesh. And because you're outside of your character, any spirit can jump into a person and begin to operate like that, right? You can't force a person not to drink. You have to encourage a person to see the truth. See, this always works better than keeping somebody from doing something. When you explain to a person the truth, and they understand that truth, they ultimately have to decide. It's their life. They're going to have to stand before the Lord by themselves. Give them the truth, and the truth is, the Bible says, do not drink to the point of drunkenness. Now, we all know if you start dabbling with wine, you're going to get carried away. You're going to find yourself drunk, possibly with habits, and you're going to come outside of your character having no restraints. And in those moments, you're going to commit sin, which will destroy your life. It comes with a consequence. Once you explain that truth, right? Once you stand by that truth, you've done something. They don't have to comply every time you say something. They have to make a choice. Let them decide. Pray for their strength that they may decide. Because ask yourself this, when God worked with us, how long did it take him to get us to put the drink down? It didn't happen overnight, right? It didn't. Did it? Takes a while to get us to see. Just think about your own life. And what that does is it causes you to have passion for somebody else and understanding for the process. It is indeed a process, but things must be done in honesty, not by force, right? Not by manipulation, but in great honesty. Folks, let me take a pause here for a second. With the nuclear subject keeps popping up. It keeps popping up. Number one, the vulnerabilities in a few countries, because they don't believe it. I'm going to make this statement. There are people out there who understand the implications of chemical warfare. There are others who have a job to tell you it will never take place, right? Never. But realize something. We have darkness is working, right? Don't look at the playing field as one person against the other. In God's eyes, in the book of Daniel, and in God's eyes, there are 4 kingdoms upon the earth. 4. All these countries operate within one of those 4 kingdoms. Those kingdoms stand for ages or times. So there were 4 ages where God gave man rule upon the earth. The 4th one, they would corrupt, right? Before the final kingdom is installed. This kingdom that we live in right now was described perfectly. And in the foundation of that kingdom, there was iron mixed with miry clay. Iron mixed with miry clay. In the book of Daniel, it describes what that is. They shall mingle themselves with the seed of men, but they will not cleave one to another. It describes it, which means we are dealing in a kingdom, partly strong, partly weak, There are lots of spiritual holes and exploits taking place by darkness in this kingdom. And it has vast reach. It's all over the place. Nobody can stop it. Nobody can. If that were the case, Jesus would not have to come back, nor would the Father. He would have simply given us a command. Because it is so incredibly deceitful. And it's growing every single day. And believe it or not, it's already in power. Daniel gives us a big hint, right? Listen, if you look at the kingdoms of this world right now like they're holy, you're going to be blinded. Not one kingdom on the face of the earth is holy. Why do I say that? Because that's what Jesus said. The New Jerusalem will never be tainted. It is holy, but it descends from heaven to earth. It will be installed here on the earth. As a whole, man is compromised right now, and Jesus is our avenue back to him. He's our avenue back. But there are things going on here on this earth that will entangle you so easily. It will stop you in your tracks, and most things are designed to deceive you, to make you think your life is about to go down the tubes, when in fact no one has that authority. And it's the authority of the Father that must be established in your minds in order for you to understand your placement in this realm, in these systems of the world. But make no mistake, darkness is rising. You name any kingdom out there, and I will show you what you never thought would be happening. Because they're still sacrificing children, burning children. The homeless have gone missing, and no one's asking questions to a great degree because they keep hopping to other stories. And every time somebody gets close in the public's eye, right, you can get close to a story. You can know the facts of a story. But if you don't get other people to understand the facts of that story, they don't care if you talk or not. But if you're one of those people who are influential, and there's some out there who can actually get people to understand what's happening out there, something always happens in the world to distract away from what's actually happening. The Ukrainian war right now, all right, why would that war all of a sudden happen right now? Why? Was there anything else going on? You better believe it. Listen, but what happened before 9/11? Does anybody know what happened before 9/11? Anybody know? I'll tell you what was going to happen. Most of you guys who do your homework, you found out that in Congress, those days leading up to 9/11, in Congress, they had set dates. They had lawyers lined up to open up the books on secrecy. Do you guys know that? They were about to expose, it was about the UFO topic, but the big boy that was about to be exposed was the black budget. You remember all the money they lost? Do you remember that? See, we forget. Oh, we forget about that stuff. They lost money. Then they were having congressional hearings, and they invited people to talk about UFOs. Now, I know that most people would focus upon the UFOs. We're Christians. We already know what the deal is with that, based on what the Bible tells us. The true door that was about to open and shed light on quite a few things was the problem with the black budget. Because that would lead you to what's been building up in the background. That would lead to greater fines than UFOs. UFOs are one thing, right? That they're always going to be UFOs. They're going to pop in and pop out, and you're not going to know what they actually are. Even if you knew, your brain would deny it. But to learn what men are doing on the face of the earth is a very dangerous subject. And so 9/11 took place. On the day, right? Because they moved the financial servers right before 9/11. Was that coincidence? You decide that. But I'm telling you, they were about to expose some things. Then the country was derailed. How do you derail the country from looking into any specific subject? You pull at their hearts. You have to pull at their hearts. That means a mass death event. So here we are again. We just went through this situation with the election, right? We did. But what was being uncovered during the time of President Trump and the transition to President Biden? What was being uncovered? It wasn't really the presidency and the servers and all that stuff. That wasn't the big. There was something else that was a bigger deal. And it was being uncovered. And all of a sudden, right when it reached the precipice, it reached a pretty tall height. Lawyers lined up again. Then all of a sudden, the Ukrainian crisis happened. Nobody cares about any previous things. And if it does not draw your attention strong enough in the Ukraine, right, when it builds up to its crescendo, if it does not draw your attention enough, if it does not keep your attention, I'm telling you now, something else is going to take place. And it will always, it happens this way on a continuous basis over and over and over again. Over again. Because you'll be interested. It's kind of like that undersea volcano. Remember I told you guys that undersea volcano. Give it a few days and nobody will talk about it. You don't hear about the undersea volcano. That was one of the largest events, natural events we have seen in a long time. It caused a crack in the earth so large. It's just mind-blowing, and no one discusses it. No one. The oceans are lit up with problems, not just by volcanism. The Bible does mention people who live under the ocean. That's not a joke. May seem like it's funny, but it's not a joke. I'll tell you this, your problems are going to come from underneath the ocean floor. There are people who are older than you are. They're people nonetheless. They're still people. But they're much smarter. They're not polluted with all this rhetoric we're polluted with. They've never stopped working. We still have an Arctic issue, and that will cost many lives. And while everybody's still thinking about conventional things, a spiritual nightmare is taking place right now. More and more people are beginning to fight to keep their hope. You remember the time we never had to fight to keep our hope. But look at the true assaults upon the souls of men right now. And soon enough, the earth is going to start going empty. Because again, the acquisitions of men are going to be consumed. Men will hide like rodents. And those who do not have Christ for real, they're going to want to die, but they won't be able to die. They're going to say to the rocks, kill me. You know what? In a lot of those texts, it says men will try to kill themselves, but death will not agree with them. They won't have the power to kill themselves. Their hell is going to start on earth, and it will continue throughout the judgment to eternity. Man has not seen evil. Man has not seen darkness, but they will. You know, the Bible says the time that's coming is not comparable to any other time. The Bible says there are armies that are coming that are not comparable to any other army that ever was. It's just not comparable. So just think about that. Even with the great flood, even with the Nephilim, even with these giants roaming the earth, consuming, and I believe those giants were dinosaurs, consuming people, right? Even when all these things were happening, what we're about to go through, That is nothing compared to what we're about to go through. Even the great flood that killed just about everybody on the face of the earth, that is nothing compared to what we're about to go through. See, there's a preparation for these things. Then there is a real preparation for these things. And many people are not taking it seriously because they're allowing the subject matter, which is extremely important and serious, subject matter of soberness. They're allowing it to be diluted with water, sensationalized, advertised, and it's almost like we're watching some weird movie. It's quickly turning into entertainment. Because the people knew if they could see just a portion, if they could see what the average JSOC individual has seen, they'd have no smile on their face. They certainly wouldn't be going to a vacation. Their brothers, their neighbors would be on their minds day and night. They would seek a perfect relationship with Christ, and no one would be able to tell them anything else. They wouldn't care what anybody else thought. They would not suffer their relationship with Christ to be hurt. They would not try to save their own lives because they know they would just be saving themselves like a hot dog in a refrigerator for somebody else to come along sometime and eat it. All things of old are coming back, plus some new things nobody has ever seen before. Are people ready for that? No. I can see that by people's response to natural disasters. Because we're still saying, save me. We're not listening for somebody saying, help me.